Hi, my name is Eric Daw from OmniFit, and today I must tell you folks, I've been reflecting. And what I've been reflecting on is I've noticed over the last 10 years the huge range of abilities or varying range of abilities of people at all ages, particularly seniors. Seniors that can be 70 and perform just as well as if they're 40 or 50. So what's the difference between the 70-year-old who performs well and the other one who doesn't perform just as well? Well, we're gonna actually get into that, and I like to make the statement before we get into it is, your age isn't the factor if you're not successful, because there's a reason why some perform well and some don't. So let's get into it. So when it comes to why some people perform well later in age as opposed to others, I have 3 points, folks. Number one being you haven't addressed your specific issue. So what do we see a lot of times when people get older, particularly after 50, 60, 70? You see things like arthritis, osteoporosis, stenosis. You see certain conditions start creeping up in people as they get older. Have you addressed these issues? If you haven't addressed these issues, they typically are going to be a hindrance in you performing as you get older. So for example, with arthritis, if you have joint issues, it's going to affect your range of motion. If you have osteoporosis, it's going to also affect your ability to move and what certain movements you can make. So if you haven't addressed these issues by looking at certain things you can do, for example, performing a great warm-up if you have arthritis to get your body moving better, or for example, osteoporosis, looking at certain movements you shouldn't be making and focusing on things you should be doing, like for example, training and improving your posture, this is gonna have a big factor on whether you're able to perform well. So this is point number one. So for point number two, I wanna ask you a question, folks. How well do you get on and off the ground? As you may already know, I've made 2 videos about this very same topic. And the reason I say this is I notice as people get older, this is one activity that people struggle with as they get older. So when's the last time you were able to get on and off the ground well? The reason I make this point about this particular exercise is for point number 2, in particular, I find people stop doing activities that kept them strong. So the reason why someone who's 70 and performs really well as opposed to another 70-year-old who doesn't perform as well is I find the ones who typically stay strong are still doing things they've done for the last 5, 10, 15 years. They're still walking their steps, they're still carrying their groceries, they're still walking, they're still doing their strength training. They haven't stopped the things that have got them success. So if you've stopped or you haven't started, this is probably a big reason why you see that 70-year-old who's still walking and climbing and hiking and the one that's not. So point number 2. So what I'm encouraging you folks to do is find modifications for each exercise, particularly if you know physically you struggle already with certain movements. The movements in particular you want to focus on is stuff like squatting, pushing, pressing, lifting. Can you find modifications based on these activities? If you have injuries, again, you have to match your physical abilities based on what you're capable of doing. And only then will you be able to train properly, get stronger, and potentially do the things that you see everybody else doing if you're in a group setting or if you just compare yourself to somebody else. Point number 3. So folks, what do you think about this video? This is not to discourage those who see that 70 or 80-year-old who seems like Superman or Superwoman who's able to do everything. This is actually to encourage you folks, if you are doing the right things already, don't stop. But if you're not, and there's certain things you can do to improve your strength, improve your fitness, improve your health, these are the 3 things I noticed in my observations, particularly over the last 10 years, that I've seen a huge difference in those that are performing well and not so much. So on that note, I'd like to say this is Eric Daw from OmniFit, but before I leave, please like and subscribe. The button's right below me. It doesn't take that long to hit it. On that note, take care.